Hour, weekdays after 3 p.m. and try our new Chili Crisp dumplings paired with a premium beverage drink like our new Strawberry Watermelon Lemonade Energy Refresher. Both for just $5 only at Waba Grill.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A contract extension for Chargers defensive back Derwin James has made him the highest paid safety in NFL history. The four-time Pro Bowler agreed to an extension Tuesday night that will pay him $75.6 million over the next 3 years. $57.5 million of the deal is guaranteed. James is getting ready for his 8th season with the Chargers. The Oklahoma City Thunder are one win away from facing the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals. OKC beat San Antonio Tuesday night, 127-114 to take a 3-2 lead in the Western Conference Finals. Game 6 is Thursday night in San Antonio. Boston's Joe Mazzulla was voted NBA Coach of the Year. Mazzulla led the Celtics to a 56-26 record in the regular season and the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs. If I had a vote, it would have gone to Detroit's J.B. Bickerstaff. The Pistons were 60-22. They were the number 1 seed in the East. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's celebrate.
Y'all did it!
Loving each other, needing each other.
Hey, Los Angeles, KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God!
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, the Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Yeah, man!
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. It's Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And we're worldwide with Dr. Wilmer Leon in the first hour of our show. In the second hour, Joey Jackson and Dr. Todd Urey will be joining us. There's probably no better way of stating where we are right now as we geopolitically locate ourselves. The Guardian probably says it best. We are going backwards. Black political power is under threat in Alabama after the Voting Rights Act gutting. Alabama has long been considered the birthplace of voting rights in America. During a peaceful voting rights demonstration in 1965, an Alabama state trooper shot and killed church deacon Jimmy Lee Jackson. In response, about 600 marchers set out from Selma across the Edmund Pettus Bridge toward the state capitol building in Montgomery to demand the right to vote. What met them on the other side were state troopers on horseback, billy clubs, tear gas, and a sheriff's posse. It was broadcast that evening on national television. I called that the event. The images from Bloody Sunday produced a moral crisis that President Lyndon Baines Johnson translated into federal law 5 months later, the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Now in a state where nearly 30% of the population is Black, the legal framework that has supported Black political representation for 6 decades could be dismantled. Last month, Supreme Court decision in Louisiana versus Calais weakened Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act enabling states to redraw congressional maps that protected majority black districts. But it does not stop there. Beyond figures and Congresswoman Sewell's districts, the Calais decision will have deep, long-term consequences for black voters across Alabama. The impact will also be felt at every level of government, in the state senate, on county commissions, on school boards, and on issues that bear most directly on black Alabamians, including infrastructure, water access, hospital closures, and prison conditions. Black voters and officials are sounding the alarm that without this representation, life outcomes for black Alabamians will be worse. Dr. Wilmer Leon, this disease is going to be spreading, not just from Alabama and Texas and Mississippi, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, and the rest of the states. We expect that obviously in the North. Wilmer J. Leon is a political scientist whose primary areas of expertise are black politics, American government, and public policy. For 11 years, he was a lecturer, teaching associate in the political science department at Howard University in Washington, D.C. Currently, Dr. Leon is a nationally broadcast syndicated radio talk show host on Sirius XM Satellite Radio, Channel 126, a nationally syndicated columnist and a regular political commentator on national and international news programs. And he is going to be our new regular contributor on Wealthy Wednesdays, Worldwide with Wilmer Leon. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and more specifically to your show, Worldwide with Wilmer Leon.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. It is incredibly humbling for me to be in the same space with you. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. And good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever you want to do with it with your audience. Hello, everybody.
If you're listening to us on the 405, the 101, the 5, the
there's a mute. There we go.
Oh, no. Thank you, Dr. Leon. I was asking you to geopolitically locate us in these 2 minutes before we come forward after our break. Where are we right now, Dr. Leon, and where are we going?
Well, we're in a time machine, and we're going backwards to geopolitically locate us. We're, I'd say, right around 1953, 1954. And they're trying to take us back to 1654.
Interesting.
But, yeah. And in that piece in The Guardian, which I suggest everybody get a chance and take a look at, I think one of the really relevant elements of it is they make the point that this Alabama decision not only impacts voting at the national level, it'll also be felt at every level of government in the state senate, county commissions, school boards, issues that bear most directly on black Alabamians, including infrastructure, water access, hospital closures, prison conditions. This is an all-out assault on our access, not on our access to the polls, on the power of black voters to have their voices heard and to have our power exercised.
Dr. Leon, we can count on feeling that in California and in Illinois at some point in time in the not too distant future as well, at every level of government. Am I correct?
Every level of government. Every level of, and it's also, I think, important to realize that this has been an ongoing assault. I think it's important for people not to get so caught up in Trump derangement syndrome. He is not the cause. He is the culmination. And this has been ongoing for a very, very long time. Mm-hmm. And so you take what happened in Alabama with Calais, in Louisiana, and you throw Trump in with let's send ICE troops to the polls. There's a whole lot going on here.
You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Wealthy Wednesdays with Dr. Wilmer Leon. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
There is no denying that we've always been the conscience of this country. KBLA Talk 1580 is progressive talk radio built for our community, by our community, and with hosts who look like you, live near you, and care about what you care about. 50,000 watts of truth right here in Southern California. KBLA Talk 1580. Listen live on your AM radio dial at 1580 or stream us live on our KBLA1580.com website or on our free KBLA 1580 app.
Unapologetically progressive.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
When did watching TV go from a way to relax to a complicated chore? Well, if you're sick of huge cable bills or endlessly searching for the show everyone's talking about, then welcome to Philo. Philo's the streaming service that respects both your time and your wallet, without needing to cut the stuff you actually love to watch. This means live TV for more than 70 channels like Hallmark, History, A&E, and Lifetime, plus a huge library of blockbuster movies and classic shows, and an easy-to-use unlimited DVR that lets you save anything you want and skip all the ads when you watch. The best part? You get all this for just $25 a month when you sign up at Philo.tv. No hidden fees, no long contracts, just a genuinely great deal. And new users can try it completely free for 7 days. So head to Philo.tv, that's PHILO.tv, and experience a better way to TV. Subscriptions auto-renew at monthly rate plus applicable taxes. Cancel anytime. See terms at Philo.tv.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to Wealthy Wednesdays and Worldwide with Dr. Wilmer Leon. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and to your show, Worldwide, on Wednesdays with Dr. Wilmer Leon. Dr. Leon, welcome to the show.
Thank you, my brother. Greatly appreciate it.
Dr. Leon, I try to share with people that if you have gangrene of the big toe, you have to put up a tourniquet to keep the gangrene from spreading to the rest of your foot.
Mm-hmm.
If you have gangrene that has spread to the rest of your foot, you have to put a tourniquet around the knee because you're likely to lose your leg. But we have to stop the gangrene from extending to the rest of your body.
Mm-hmm.
If you have thyroid cancer, we need to have surgery to have the thyroids removed. If you have lung cancer, we need to do the same. Brain cancer is nearly inoperable, but cancer usually spreads to other parts of the body.
As a cancer survivor, I understand exactly what you're saying.
Well, you will remain forever in my prayers. I didn't want to use an example that might hit so close to home, but the fact of the matter is, in our body politic, Alabama is showing us, Tennessee is showing us, and South Carolina are showing us that the nation's system has a kind of cancer, a kind of spreading disease that no African American elected official, Hispanic elected official, Native American elected official, Asian American elected official is going to be able to escape. The disease is coming your way.
And to your point, you can go all the way back to Bush v. Gore. And this is, again, Donald Trump is not the causation, he's the culmination. We have been battling an attack on the electorate since the infamous Powell memo from Lewis Powell, where he talked about corporations need to get more involved in our politics through financing. And we know he wound up on the Supreme Court. We wound up with the Citizens United case. That's why I'm saying when you asked in the open of the show to geopolitically or geolocate us, so we're heading back to the 50s. And now Donald Trump says that he wants to send ICE troops to the polls. That's voter suppression. They keep talking about voter ID laws when there's absolutely zero data to show that people are voting fraudulently. I want to say the number over the past 10 years, the number of incidents of people voting fraudulently is 0.000007 or something like that. 5 zeros.
Negligible. Can't even find the person who cheated.
No. And one of the things that I don't hear anybody ask is when they talk about fraudulent voting, when was the last time someone was charged with the crime, with the felony? When was the last time someone was prosecuted for fraudulent voting?
They can't find that 0.000007 Negro. He can't be found, if he exists at all. Dr. Leon, let me ask you this question. And this question centers around our voices.
Mm-hmm.
If the district that Wilmer Leon is elected from votes for Wilmer Leon in his authentic self, the exact same person that we hear on the radio would be the exact same person who would be representing us in the state Senate and in the Congress of the United States or in the United States Senate. That would be Wilmer Leon.
Correct.
So what kind of a district makeup, and I got to ask these questions kind of quickly because I want to get to a point here. What kind of a district makeup, what would a district have to look like in order to have your voice on the floor of the Congress speaking for us? What does that district look like? Who votes for Wilmer Leon?
Well, anybody with any sense, I would think. Anybody that can read or write and isn't drunk. Because if I were to run, my appeal would be that the issues that are impacting our community, as in the African American community, are impacting everybody. We all need jobs. We all need you can't have a thriving economy without manufacturing. We're all paying too much at the gas pump. We all need health care. We all need to save Social Security. And I got a simple solution to save Social Security. So I would, to a certain degree, I take my cues from your dad.
So let me start right
I would take your cues from Dr. Ronald Walters.
You can take your cues from what I'd like to think I did when I was in Congress. So let me drop this on you. So let's say that Crenshaw or South Central Los Angeles elected Wilmer Leon to Congress in his authentic self. And then the district was drawn. It still maintained some South Central Los Angeles, some Crenshaw in the district, but it reaches over and it grabs, Marina Del Rey. It reaches over and the new district grabs a significant part of Beverly Hills. It reaches over and it grabs, let's just say it reaches over and grabs some very affluent communities in Los Angeles, California, or in the state, even outside of the city, some rural areas, if there are such rural areas outside of the major metropolis. In perfect candor, I know you came from South Central. I know you came from Crenshaw. But what is the new reflection of your politics if Wilmer Leon runs in that district now under those circumstances? Does your voice change?
No, mine
Your
does.
voice, your voice doesn't. But
Mine
do
doesn't.
voices change? Your voice may not, but do voices change when the lines change?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because in most instances or circumstances, the job of the elected official is to be reelected. So they are, and then also the voice changes because the money from your new constituency changes. And so if you want to attract the money from that newly reconfigured, gerrymandered constituency, he who pays the piper calls the tune.
So I've got this, let me follow up with this question, because I remember Uptown Saturday night when Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier went to meet the congressman because they had lost their lottery ticket. And when they walked into the congressman's office, before they walked into the congressman's office, there was a picture of a Richard Nixon on the wall, and he had on the black congressman, had on a suit and tie, and I think it was played by Roscoe Brown. And the lady came in, a white secretary, and she said, "Congressman, some of your constituents want to see you." He said, "Well, are they from downtown? Are they from downtown Los Angeles?" I think is what they specifically said. And he said, no, these brothers right here, Sidney Poitier and Bill Cosby, they're from the neighborhood. The congressman went into his closet, got a dashiki. He went and took the Malcolm X picture, and he flipped the Nixon picture. He flipped it over, and there's a picture of Malcolm. And he said, as soon as they came, my brother, how y'all doing? I mean, the congressman's voice changed in Uptown Saturday Night. Now, I say that to say, when Al Green's lines changed in Texas under Texas redistricting, Al Green, the congressman who stood up at least twice during the State of the Union and called Donald Trump to task, was defeated last night by a young African-American whose district he was drawn into, who received, I think, nearly $17 million from outside of his district to support his current voice. And after 20 years of service, Al Green's voice and authenticity now has been lost on the floor of the Congress to our struggle. That's really where I'm going with this. The changing of these lines changes our voice and our authentic representation. Dr. Leon?
It does, without question. So now the question becomes, what are we to do about it? And in many instances, this is where I believe we have to overwhelm the process with turnout. Because I haven't had a chance to look at the numbers from last night, but I'd like to see what was the percentage of turnout in that district. I know Congressman Green was defeated, but how many people stayed home? And again, and I'm not asking that question rhetorically. I don't know the answer because I haven't had a chance to comb through the data and digest the numbers.
And that's part of it, right? But the other part of it is in a newly drawn district where they took two African-American districts and essentially combined them. Some people who consistently vote for the successor to Sheila Jackson Lee, the successor to Barbara Jordan in the Congress, and this is, or it was, the Barbara Jordan seat. We came to rely upon her voice. We came to rely upon the voice of the late Sheila Jackson Lee. I served with her for 17 years in the Congress of the United States. I served briefly with Representative Al Green. We came to rely upon his voice. But when the lines have changed that moved Al Green's district away from his historic constituents that voted for Barbara Jordan, Barbara Lee, to the new district, we have a young, bright, talented African-American who received, again, $17 million from outside forces in the newly drawn district, whose voice, many of us heard about him for the first time last night. His voice is not the voice of Al Green, Barbara Jordan, or Sheila Jackson Lee in the Congress of the United States. That's the authentic question that we lose in the redistricting. Because Al Green's voters, when they showed up to vote for Al Green yesterday, he wasn't even on the ballot wherever they sent them voters to.
Well, this is where I think Samuel Yet in his book, The Choice, where he asks the question or makes the statement, in the minds of those that draw the lines and determine the policy, we have become obsolete people. And Sidney Wilhelm in The Problem with the Negro comes to the same, in the book, The Problem with the Negro, comes to the same conclusion. We have become, or have we become, obsolete people? Are we going to sit idly by and allow this to be done? And because to a certain degree, as I listen to the CBC and other entities, it's too little too late.
I absolutely agree with you. And I absolutely agree with you. In fact, I saw a press conference yesterday from the CBC where they said the first agenda item for them, if in fact Democrats regain control of Congress, is to hold Donald Trump and Donald Trump's family accountable for their crimes. I said, listen to myself. I said, self.
And yourself said what?
Myself said,
huh?
Maybe the first thing we need a Democratic president to do, or president to do, is to sign the John Lewis Voting Rights Act so we can rebuild our numbers. I mean, how can we spend 2 years, 4 years, or however many years focusing on that which, believe me when I tell you, there will be other Democrats who will hold Donald Trump accountable, and we should hold Donald Trump accountable. That is not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that the hour draws so heavily upon us in this geopolitically located history that if we are not thinking about ourselves on day one, that we got time to spend 2 years going after Donald Trump and his family, let the Democrats do that. I agree with that. Let's hold them accountable. It's just a vote to impeach and keep him moving. But if we're not thinking about our numbers and correcting what this court has done to these state representative seats, state Senate seats, dog catcher seats, school board seats, I think we're missing the boat. We have about just a few seconds before we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm really, Dr. Leon, excited about your show on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, because I think we can have frank, candid conversations. We will agree to agree. We'll agree to disagree. But one thing is for sure, I know my father counted upon your expertise. He counted upon your thinking. He counted upon your wise counsel. And I'm just grateful that you're giving it to us right here at KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward on KBLA, it's Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're worldwide with Dr. Wilmer Leon. We're going to take a dip over to the Gaza Strip and some other parts of the world when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump is congratulating Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton after his Republican primary win for U.S. Senate.
Last night was incredible. Not only Texas, but so many other places.
Paxton, who was endorsed by Trump, beat incumbent John Cornyn and will face Democrat James Tallarico in November. Trump also praised Cornyn while attacking Tallarico on social media. Tiger Woods is expected to miss all 4 major PGA championships for a second straight year. Sports Illustrated reports Woods did not enter the 2026 Open Championship and is not exempt for next month's U.S. Open. And civil rights leader Clarence V. Jones has died at 95. Jones helped Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. write his I Have a Dream speech and helped organize the 1963 March on Washington. Reverend Al Sharpton called him a brilliant strategist and said many owe him a great debt. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Head to Waba Grill for $5 happy hour weekdays after 3 p.m. and try our new Chili Crisp dumplings paired with a premium beverage drink like our new Strawberry Watermelon Lemonade Energy Refresher. both for just $5. Only at Whopper Grill.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A contract extension for Chargers defensive back Derwin James has made him the highest paid safety in NFL history. The four-time Pro Bowler agreed to an extension Tuesday night that will pay him $75.6 million over the next 3 years. $57.5 million of the deal is guaranteed. James is getting ready for his 8th season with the Chargers. The Oklahoma City Thunder are one win away from facing the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals. OKC beat San Antonio Tuesday night, 127-114 to take a 3-2 lead in the Western Conference Finals. Game 6 is Thursday night in San Antonio. Boston's Joe Mazzulla was voted NBA Coach of the Year. Mazzulla led the Celtics to a 56-26 record in the regular season and the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs. If I had a vote, it would have gone to Detroit's J.B. Bickerstaff. The Pistons were 60-22. They were the number 1 seed in the East. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to number 1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for State Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for State Superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee. Not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
Don't wait until election day to vote. You have several easy, convenient options to make your voice heard. Vote early at any of the official ballot drop boxes or vote in person. Visit plan.lavote.gov to learn more. Brought to you by the Los Angeles County Registrar.
Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
My name is Cynthia Mitchell. I've been an emergency room nurse in Los Angeles County for 25 years. I've been there through every fire season, every outbreak, every earthquake. Every time Los Angeles needed us, the doctors and nurses of Los Angeles County showed up. And right now, I'm seeing another disaster coming. Trump's cuts to Los Angeles County's healthcare system are a public health crisis in the making. Medi-Cal, public hospitals, disaster preparedness are all at risk. But we can stop it. Measure ER fights back against these cuts. For a half a penny, we keep emergency rooms open, care within reach for working families, and doctors and nurses serving the communities we love. When you vote yes on Measure ER, you're not just voting for health care, you're voting for LA. Vote yes on Measure ER by June 2nd.
Ad paid for by Yes on ER, Restore Healthcare for Angelinos, sponsored by St. John's Community Health and Health Justice Action Fund. Ad committee top funder, St. John's Community Health.
Let's celebrate.
Y'all did it!
Loving each other, needing each other.
Hey, Los Angeles, KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God!
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, The Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Yeah, man.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This coming Friday, we are going to continue our testing for live call-ins on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our number, please commit it to memory or to your phone, 833-746-9555. 833-746-9555. It is a free call. Well, it's not free to you. It's free to you. It's not free to me because I did pay for this 800 number, 833-746-9555, because I do want to hear from you. That spells 833-SHOW, SHOWJJJ. In this hour, worldwide with Wilmer Leon. Dr. Leon is a political scientist whose primary areas of expertise are Black politics, American government, and public policy. Dr. Leon earned a Bachelor of Science degree in political science from Hampton Institute, a Master's in Public Administration from Howard University, and a PhD in political science from Howard University. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to your show, Worldwide with Wilmer Leon.
Thank you, my brother. Good afternoon.
Dr. Leon, let me ask you a question. How can we support your work before we go to the Middle East?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. How can
we support your work before we transition our conversation to the Gaza Strip?
Very simply, tune in Saturdays from 11 to 2 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM 126 Urban View. The show is Inside the Issues, and what you're hearing here, you'll hear there. Absolutely.
Dr. Leon, you're also an author. Can you share with us a little bit about your book?
Sure. The book, Politics, Another Perspective. In fact, here we go. Commentary and analysis on race, war, ethics, and the American political landscape in the age of Obama. Don't know if that's coming through clearly or not. You can get the book on Amazon. Trying to get here we go. You can get the book on Amazon, and here that is right there. And it's a collection. It's a collection of op-eds that I wrote over the span of about 12 years. And Dr. Ronald Walters wrote the foreword to the book. Dr. Clarence Lusane wrote the introduction to the book. And I think it is still evergreen and relevant to this day.
Dr. Leon, let me ask you this question. Do you see Barack Obama's presidency as the zenith, if you will, of Second Reconstruction, and that so much or a significant part of the backlash that we are experiencing as a race is in large measure because of the perception of the progress that his election represented?
I don't see his election. Well, first of all, let me say that let me answer the second part of your question first. Newton's third law of motion is for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And so I believe that a lot of what we are experiencing right now is in fact a reaction to the election of President Barack Obama. But I don't know that from a symbolic perspective, I believe that his election was incredibly significant and relevant. But from a policy output perspective, I don't know, particularly on the international front, I don't know that he was nearly as progressive as a lot of people want to make him out to be.
You know, I think that's right. I know that we're going to go to the Gaza Strip and talk about some current issues in the Middle East, but I do think that it's important to recognize in this moment that it wasn't like we elected a Black Panther to the presidency.
Correct.
It wasn't like we elected W.E.B. Du Bois or
Paul Robeson.
Or Paul Robeson to the presidency, bringing forward some extraordinary reform, or Martin Luther King Jr., who advocated for a transformation of values and the entire system to the presidency. But the reaction to your point about Newton's third law is almost as if we did.
Correct.
In other words, we didn't get out of the presidency under Obama what these men advocated for, what Fannie Lou Hamer and others advocated for. We did get the symbolic idea that America is a place where we can venture to the highest office in the land, and we did get some fundamental policy changes, including the Affordable Care Act, which covered more people than had been previously covered by government health care. But I don't think that anyone could have anticipated that the return of the Confederacy, the return of this MAGA coalition, the mean-spiritedness that is generated by the present body politic is something that we ever anticipated by having, quite frankly, amongst our leaders, the most conservative elected president amongst Black leaders ever. In other words, someone who was totally positioned to receive votes and to make people feel good about themselves in the moment. It has not transitioned or translated into the policies necessary to wipe out poverty, to wipe out militarism, or to wipe out racism in this country. In fact, that truth remains true, that it has only exacerbated it. Would you agree with that?
And to call, I agree with you 1,000%. And to call Trump conservative, you're kind.
Well, I was calling Obama conservative amongst the Black leaders who could have been the president. He was the conservative, acceptable guy.
Okay,
I mean,
there we go. Okay.
He was the Harvard guy that we sent you, that you told us this is what we could do and become. He didn't get up there and hold his fist up with no black glove and say it's time for a change. He did not do that.
No. In fact, folks, go back and read his Nobel acceptance speech, where he recognizes Dr. King, but then says, "Yeah, but." Man, you can't yeah, but Dr. King.
Dr. King said, Dr. King said he accepted his Nobel Peace Prize on behalf of the millions of Negroes who were struggling in the South and in our country under the labor of racism, oppression, and all the isms that came with it. He said, I can't accept this award for myself. Brock said, this is my trophy.
And President Obama said, I stand here on those shoulders, but you must remember, I am an American president. Oh, okay.
That's what he did.
Well, that right there tells you all you need to know.
Dr. Leon, the war in the Middle East is really now taking on a different front. Donald Trump is still negotiating negotiating with the Iranians over the Hormuz Strait, and Israel continues its attack in the Gaza Strip. Dr. Leon, your thoughts?
Well,
I'm sorry, Dr. Leon. Dr. Leon, we got to have these thoughts right after we come forward. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk with Worldwide with Wilmer Leon in just a moment.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
His mother was a teacher and activist. His father was a Navy veteran. He built a company worth billions, and then he walked away from it, turning from profit to purpose, helping those who need it most. That's Tom Steyer. When big oil tried to pollute our air and water, Tom fought to stop them, and won. When corporations were dodging taxes, Tom closed the loophole and got billions for public schools. And when party leaders were afraid to take on Trump, he led a movement to impeach him.
This president is unfit, he's dangerous, and we need to get rid of him.
Now, Trump is attacking Tom. Because like the oil companies and the tax cheats, Donald Trump knows Tom Steyer answers to no one and will do whatever it takes to stop special interests and start lowering costs for Californians.
I can't do it by myself. I need you guys to be with me, and we need to do this together.
Politicians make promises. Tom Steyer makes a difference. Make sure you vote Tom Steyer for governor, June 2nd.
Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-444-2013. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-444-2013. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-444-2013. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-444-2013 or biglou.com.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to number 1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for State Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for State Superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee. Not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. These are hard times for housing in America. Too many in our community face barriers to safe housing, behavioral health care, and affirming spaces for healing, particularly those impacted by poverty and stigma or incarceration. Rooted in South LA, Ahmad supports impacted communities through housing, wellness, and leadership development. Ahmad provides culturally responsive, peer-led support from transitional housing and mental health services to leadership development and youth empowerment. They offer safe, affirming houses for youth, transgender women, and formerly incarcerated individuals. Therapy and peer support with a focus on healing trauma in Black communities. HIV prevention and care, free testing, education, and wraparound services for whole person wellness. Standing in the gap with health, housing, and hope. Reach out to Ahmad Institute at 323-569-1610. That's 323-569-1610. Or visit amaad.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., your worldwide with Dr. Wilmer Leon on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm very grateful that Professor Leon is our very special guest today. You can listen to Dr. Leon on nationally broadcast radio talk show host on Sirius XM Satellite Radio Channel 126. He's a nationally syndicated columnist and a regular political commentator on national and international news programs. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the show.
Thanks, sir.
Dr. Leon, let's dive right into the Middle East. A lot going on in the Gaza Strip and in the so-called ceasefire that Donald Trump is advocating. Can you share with us your take on where we are and where we're not?
Where we're not is we're not anywhere close to peace. In fact, Gil Scott-Heron once said, peace is not the absence of war, it is the absence of the need for war. And you had the latest military leader of Hamas was just killed with a missile strike. This is just a stone cold, straight up land grab.
His wife and his family, I understand, as well.
His wife and his family, two of his sons and his wife, exactly. This is just a straight land grab because not only do you have this going on in Gaza, you have this going on in the West Bank, you have this going on in Lebanon and in Syria. And this is a land grab facilitated with the assistance of American taxpayer dollars. And under no circumstance should we ever be paying for genocide.
Dr. Leon, these arguments and these issues are prescient in the midterm elections. Al Green ran against an AIPAC candidate. I had to deal with an AIPAC candidate in the 2nd Congressional District. Hundreds of millions of dollars of outside money are actually engaged in African-American politics at this hour to determine votes that could impact the crisis in the Middle East. Your thoughts about the outside influence and the outside money that's really running these campaigns?
Well, we should be screaming about this at the top of our lungs. In April of 24, yeah, I think in April of 24, AIPAC ran an article in the New York Times saying they were going to invest $100 million into the Democratic primary process to unseat what they considered to be unsympathetic Democrats. They told us this. They were going to invest $100 million into our election. And the CBC didn't say a damn thing.
I don't think the CBC thought that the $100 million was coming against them because they have historically been supportive of AIPAC. In fact, I have actually experienced and witnessed this process myself. I mean, I believe in Israeli security. I believe in a two-state solution. Chris Van Hollen wrote a really interesting piece this week as well. Dr. Leon, did you want to comment on what Chris had to say?
Well, we've gotten to the point now where if you talk about a two-state solution and a Palestinian state isn't sovereign and able to defend itself, then what do you have? So my question is, what about a democratic Israel? Why not a democratic Israel? I rarely hear anybody talk about that. And for those that don't really know what I'm asking, if you read the Declaration of Independence of the settler colonial state, it is a Jewish state. And so if it's a Jewish state, what does that mean for the Palestinian Arabs? It means that they're second-class citizens. So why would the United States be spending our tax dollars supporting an entity that is not democratic and lying to the American people and claiming that it is? Now, folks, you can call this anti-Semitic if you want to, but then you got to understand the definition of anti-Semitism. And you also have to understand that there's a huge difference between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. So before you start just throwing this phraseology around, you need to do a little reading so that you can understand what's really happening and why.
Senator Chris Van Hollen in the New York Times reports and opines this week on this subject matter, arguing that the Democratic Party needs a facelift, that our historic position of security for Israel, which I believe in and others believe in, and I think all of us believe in, particularly coming out of Balfour, we've also added to it a two-state solution that treats the Palestinians with the right to self-determination and dignity. That's not complicated. What is lost in the present conflict is the idea of another state for the Palestinians. And for many of us who have historically supported Israel, that is troubling. That's what Chris Van Hollen argues. That's not anti-Semitic. That's Chris Van Hollen. Right. And that's not an unreasonable position. Dr. Leon, we have about 2 minutes before we come forward. A word of hope.
It's not an unreasonable position. And for Chris Van Hollen to publish that in the New York Times and publish that in Today, one of the things he mentioned is, I think the number was 47 Democrats that voted against a recent funding bill sending money to the settler colonial state, whereas the last time, or 2 years ago, it was 15. So there is progress being made in the argument. And as more progress gets made in the argument, the attacks from the other side become stronger. They become more vehement, and they become more volatile. But
love you very much.
You can't support genocide. Period.
Love you very much, Dr. Leon. Thank you for your show and thank you for being here.
My brother, as always, thank you. And if we're blessed, I'll see you next week.
And God willing, we will be looking forward to it. The Politics of Our Faith with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Eury. When we come forward, our very special guest is none other than the brilliant Joey Jackson. Got a lot of questions to ask him about name, image, and likeness. NAACP boycotts. Are they effective for such a time as this? A lot of questions about what's going on in the world, but I really want to hear from the mind of Joey Jackson. It doesn't get much more clearer than that at this hour of untruth, at this hour of misinformation. Joey speaks in forms that are so clear, and so much like an outline. Very grateful for him to be our very next guest. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump is congratulating Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton after his Republican primary win for U.S. Senate.
Last night was incredible. Not only Texas, but so many other places.
Paxton, who was endorsed by Trump, beat incumbent John Cornyn and will face Democrat James Tallarico in November. Trump also praised Cornyn while attacking Tallarico on social media. Tiger Woods is expected to miss all 4 major PGA championships for a second straight year. Sports Illustrated reports Woods did not enter the 2026 Open Championship and is not exempt for next month's U.S. Open. And civil rights leader Clarence V. Jones has died at 95. Jones helped Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. write his I Have a Dream speech and helped organize the 1963 March on Washington. Reverend Al Sharpton called him a brilliant strategist and said many owe him a great debt. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Head to Waba Grill for $5 happy hour weekdays after 3 p.m. and try our new chili crisp dumplings paired with a premium beverage drink like our new strawberry watermelon lemonade energy refresher. Both for just $5 only at Waba Grill.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A contract extension for Chargers defensive back Derwin James has made him the highest paid safety in NFL history. The four-time Pro Bowler agreed to an extension Tuesday night that will pay him $75.6 million over the next 3 years. $57.5 million of the deal is guaranteed. James is getting ready for his 8th season with the Chargers. The Oklahoma City Thunder are one win away from facing the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals. OKC beat San Antonio Tuesday night, 127-114 to take a 3-2 lead in the Western Conference Finals. Game 6 is Thursday night in San Antonio. Boston's Joe Mazzulla was voted NBA Coach of the Year. Mazzulla led the Celtics to a 56-26 record in the regular season and the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs. If I had a vote, it would have gone to Detroit's J.B. Bickerstaff. The Pistons were 60-22. They were the number 1 seed in the East. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
When the story gets twisted, who's going to tell the truth? When they cut the microphones, who's still talking? When history gets rewritten, who remembers what really happened? We do. KBLA Talk 1580. Black media isn't just important right now, it's essential. Because when mainstream outlets move on, we stay. When the headlines ignore our communities, we don't. When decisions are being made that affect Black lives in our schools, our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, Black voices, Black power.
The heat is on.
On the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected. Stay informed. Stay loud. Stand up!
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Wealthy Wednesdays. An amazing conversation with Dr. Wilmer Leon. If you're listening to us on the 405, the 101, the 5, the 10, the 118, or the 110, we are here at KBLA Talk 1580. I'd like to think we're making nothing but sense. Very much enjoyed that interview yesterday between Tavis Smiley and Jim Clyburn, kind of laying out and geopolitically locating us where we are at this moment in the history of our nation and in the history of our politics as we celebrate, and some of us commemorate, the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. Barbara Jean, Lynette Purple Angel Alexander, Scion 111112, Tracy Van Zant Zoyles, Sandra Davis, Larshawn Gaylor, Mighty You Play, and others who are listening to us and commenting live on our Facebook page. I want you to write this number down this coming Friday, 833-746-9555. 833-746-9555. This Friday, we'll be testing the technology to receive your phone calls and bring you in on some of our prescient debates and discussions from this past week, as well as any thoughts that might be on your mind here at KBLA Talk 1580. I should share with you the calls we got last week were from Florida, Indianapolis, Indiana, Los Angeles, California, and even a call from as far away as South Africa. And so people all across the country and around the world are listening to our conversation. I'm particularly honored in this hour to have my very special guest, a young man whom I think has tremendous potential to provide leadership for our entire nation. He has earned respect as a journalist, as a lawyer, as a constitutional scholar, as a professor and a thinker. Also very attuned to the issues of our communities and our people, and the least of these, a really, really, really good brother. I have some questions to ask him about name, image, and likeness, and some other civil rights issues that matter for our people, our community, our country, regardless of your race, sex, or class. I'm honored that my very good friend and close friend, Joey Jackson, is with us. Joey, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It is a pleasure and a privilege, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, Joey. Joey, listen, I can't thank you enough for the time that you spent with our family during the period of my father's obsequies. And you made all of that process and that period go by so much quicker. And I'm so grateful for the relationship that our family has with yours. My mother was extremely grateful. And she said for me to tell you that she owes you a phone call.
Well, that's a beautiful thing, and it's the least that I can do. Such an amazing family, and your dad, I don't even need to say how much just he meant and still means to the entire nation. And when I say still means, obviously, we don't have the luxury of his physical presence, but we certainly have everything that he's done to leave the legacy behind that he's had, and especially through his family and in you and your siblings and, and everyone else that comes from him. So thank you for allowing me to spend that time and to give my condolences to the family and just to be present with you. Amazing.
Joey, let me ask you a question. One of the things that my father championed was the fair treatment of African Americans in sport. When I worked with him in the late 80s, early 90s at the Rainbow Coalition, he started a division of the Rainbow that dealt with sports and sports progress for African Americans. And when I think about name, image, and likeness, I think about Dad recognizing early on that these young men and young women, particularly in basketball and football, however, were largely responsible for the kinds of resources that many of the large PWIs, private schools, the Ivy League, as well as state schools were receiving as a result of their athletic prowess in these programs. These kids were coming from rural areas. They were 17 years old. Their parents were escaping poverty. And I've been deeply challenged by the NAACP and other organizations who called for these young people to share, if you will, shoulder the burden of what's taking place with respect to the Voting Rights Act in the South, to ask these young people, and I paused on this, Joey, to ask these young people to consider entering programs elsewhere. It seems to me that we fought for them to get the best possible education, to work their way out of poverty, to work their way out of these communities. And while I recognize that name, image, and likeness are real civil rights issues and really personal to them because of the opportunities that it provides, I think the best use of our civil rights organizations are at larger targets and not the conversation that has us challenging one athlete at a time. Joey, your initial thoughts and counsel.
Listen, my thoughts are that it takes a village. And, I believe that in order to get through what we have witnessed in the last, it hasn't even been 2 years, although it seemed like an eternity, it's going to take all of us to give all of what we have. I think it's unfair for any one particular group, one particular person to shoulder the entirety of the burden, but I think everybody certainly has a part and a role. If we're going to get out from under the abuses that we've endured There's just so many of them. I just don't even know where to begin. The denigration of our institutions, the removing of books that have our name, image, and likeness on it, the complete disregard for our voting rights and voting abilities, just the offensive nature of what's been happening and how our community has been targeted. I think everyone has to step up. No, I do not believe that young men and women should shoulder an undue burden. I think they should be given an opportunity to understand the nature of, who they are, who they can represent, how much influence they have in communities. But I just don't think that putting that burden on young men and women unduly is the answer. I think every one of us has a role to play. And unless we play that role, we're going to see more denigration, more destruction, and more problems that have come out of this presidency than I even care to talk about.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're in the mind of the best and the brightest. Attorney Joey Jackson. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Y'all did it!
Hey, Los Angeles, KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God!
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, the Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Yeah, man!
I need a little ranch, step to the ranch.
There's a new flavor in town, the Jalapeno Ranch Club at Chick-fil-A. With that juicy Chick-fil-A original spicy or grilled chicken, a buttermilk ranch bun, candied bacon, pepper jack cheese, and jalapeno ranch sauce. It's got big ranch vibes with a little heat. Chick-fil-A's new Jalapeno Ranch Club, available for a limited time only. Order ahead on the Chick-fil-A app.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And I must be perfectly candid with everyone within the sound of my voice. This weekend, I binge watched on Netflix Breaking Bad. And I want everyone within the sound of my voice to understand this. If I am ever in trouble again, I am not going to call Saul. I'm going to call S. Todd Yeary and Joey Jackson. The Politics of Our Faith with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Yeary on Wealthy Wednesdays. Dr. Yeary is the principal of the Yeary Firm, a Maryland-based litigation and government relations firm, and also serves as the senior pastor of the Douglas Memorial Community Church of Baltimore and affiliates. Dr. Yeary is also the former chief executive officer of the Rainbow Push Coalition. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Dr. Yeary is on the move. I think he's muted.
Yeah.
And hi, Dr. Yeary. Welcome forward to the show. And also joining us is nationally recognized attorney who has for more than 2 decades represented individuals in labor unions in state and federal court. Mr. Jackson and his associates have represented a diverse group of clients under the glare of cameras, as well as those who have never attracted public attention. He has built an outstanding career as a defense lawyer, representing clients who have fallen into high-stakes personal and professional crises, as well as those who are average citizens in need of his fierce and benevolent counsel. Attorney Joey Jackson, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Pleasure to be here, sir. Pleasure to be here.
So glad that you are both here. I can tell you I saw Better Call Saul this weekend, right after Breaking Bad, and I know the best counsel in my presence is both Dr. Yeary and Joey Jackson. Gentlemen, welcome forward to the show.
So good to be with you.
Joey, let me ask you this question. I think Todd has been muted. I have to get Todd to unmute himself. Joey, there's a lot going on structurally in the country with respect to the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And you said in the previous segment of the show that there are too many issues for which you can address in the time that's limited on these mediums or any other medium because they are so profound and they are so pervasive. Joey, if you had to organize how we approach or should approach our thinking in terms of priorities in this hour as we try and fight and champion the cause and stop the hemorrhaging of what's taking place, how would you organize that, Joey?
I think the organization starts with awareness. This is a moment that is a critical challenge to all of us. And it's a critical challenge to all of us because when you talk about voting, and let's start there, you're talking about political power. When you're talking about political power, you're talking about economic empowerment. Why? Because of the government and its resources, because of government contracts, because of the leverages and the powers of governments and what programs could be instituted. When you talk about voting and you have people who are in power, you look at these, let's talk about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. That is something that should be celebrated. That is something that your dad was all about with the Rainbow Coalition in a broad tent that welcomed everyone from every crevice of the community, that empowered and uplifted people. So if we're talking about attacking the issues, we have to start with the issue of voting and awareness. Awareness how? Making people understand that they matter, making people understand that coalitions matter, that exercising the right that has been fought for matters, talking to young people, having them really coalesce around the point and see what exactly can happen when you don't vote, how programs can be dismantled, how communities can suffer, how we could have this issue of redistricting where you're having districts that literally, because of the Supreme Court's recent ruling, are being attacked and diminished, how voters are being disenfranchised and votes being suppressed because of what they're doing, that is various localities and states and communities in terms of targeting African American and people of color so that they get diluted voting. And so I think if we're going to have any discussion about this and where we start, it starts with a general awareness. And if we get that awareness and we have people buy in and understand their value, their significance, their meaning, their contribution, we can start to build communities that understand and recognize that when we empower people, we empower ourselves.
Joy, let me ask you this question. I know Todd's going to be with us in just a moment. I think he's in transit. My dad used to say that there's no such thing as a narrow Supreme Court decision. He said, for example, that Plessy versus Ferguson was about transportation, but the separate but unequal doctrine ended up at water fountains. It ended up at public accommodations. It ended up on buses. It ended up in every facet of American society. Just as Brown versus the Board of Education was a case about education, but what it ended up desegregating was hotels and airports and transportation, and over time, the very future that we live in and have walked into, in no small measure because of the sacrifice that they all played. The Robinson or the Louisiana versus Calais decision is about congressional districts. It is about, in the remand from Alabama, about state representative districts. But it is also a majority opinion. It's also a precedent-setting case. What else beyond voting, Joey, can we expect this decision to have implications on? You mentioned DEI. I would imagine that college admissions, I would imagine that every facet of American life will also be profounded by these efforts to curtail race-based solutions to race-based problems.
There's no question about it. And I think your dad was profound in saying that when you look and you analyze the essence of the decision, let's go into and step into our Constitution. Let's step into the 14th Amendment and equal protection. Equal protection means that we deserve, and certainly our community deserves, to be empowered like every other community. What they have essentially said was that we are going to have a colorblind society. And when you could celebrate a colorblind.
I may have just lost Joey for a moment. I know he'll be joining us in just a second as soon as we work out the technical difficulty. I can only wait for his profound interpretation. But I want everyone to understand, while we wait for Joey to rejoin us, it's not the facts of a case. While we are focused on voting because of Louisiana versus Kay, again, in Plessy versus Ferguson, the case was about transportation. But the holding, the precedence of the case, was the legality of separate and unequal facilities. And that's why we had to desegregate lunch counters, desegregate hotels, desegregate recording venues. It's why Jackie Robinson had to break into the majors, because baseball was an all-white male sport. It's why African Americans ended up playing for the Globetrotters and couldn't play in the NBA until blacks began to break into the NBA. Every facet of American life during Jim Crow was impacted by the separate and unequal decision, including sitting in a restaurant next to people who were of a different race, a different color. You couldn't go to clubs. You couldn't use public facilities. It was devastating until Brown versus the Board of Education overturned the decision, 14th Amendment, equal protection of the laws, and it gave birth to the modern civil rights movement to implement the Supreme Court's decision. The implementation of that decision led to what? Blacks being able to go to the University of Georgia, the University of Alabama, the University of Mississippi. It forced Harvard and Yale to come up with programs to allow our students who are capable of going to law school and learning how to become doctors and become teachers and professors to get an education at these institutions. It also laid the foundation at the end of First Reconstruction for the HBCUs themselves, because since we couldn't go to school with them, we ended up creating what? Our own schools, mostly headed by preachers who became the first university presidents of many of these historically black college, until, of course, my good friend, Dr. William Harvey, helps change the model, where now the presidents of HBCUs are usually businessmen and businesswomen who know how to raise money and expand historically black college and university education. But the point is that the umpire, if you will, of the Constitution is the Supreme Court of the United States. Joey, let me welcome you forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I was trying to buy some time for you to return. Joey, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Okay, I still have not had Joy, so let me continue. So my thinking here is, while we are focused in this moment at losing congressional seats, when we get beyond this political moment of the midterms and 2028 and beyond, The application of Louisiana versus Calais is wherever a race-based remedy has been used to solve a race problem, the holding of Louisiana versus Calais then kicks in, not on the basis of voting, but to Joey's point, on the basis of color blindness or blindedness. And the reality is there has never been a moment in the history of this country where it has been colorblind. In fact, Dad used to say, the nation is color conscious. And because it's color conscious, we must give some thoughts to the idea of color remedies to ensure that we all participate and that we grow together under the 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. I do see Joey's trying to come back into the program. Joey, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
You
Just
got
before we
me.
lost you, you were talking about color blindedness.
The third time's the charm.
Welcome back, Joey.
So listen, I think that, you know, if you look at how there's an attack here, the bottom line is that that decision in terms of voting rights affects everything. If you're interpreting a constitution that's colorblind, and you're saying now that you're looking at dismantling programs that would have otherwise afforded opportunities. And look, for people like me, it's not lost on me that I not have the opportunities that I've had, right? But for various programs and other things rooms that I was invited into that I may not have been invited into, certainly would not have been invited into without these programs. So let's start here. You mentioned education. So now you have this voting right decision that says, what we're going to do is, unless you can establish that there's an intentional discrimination, not the impact of what happens in the voting districts we established, but it was an intentionally designed to discriminate, then you have no case. Now, how do you prove intentional discrimination when people are going to couch it with a pretext? What's the pretext? We didn't do it and structure a congressional district predicated upon race. We structured it to give a political advantage. And as a result of that political advantage, it may have had an impact upon race, but we didn't do it for that reason. What am I getting at? I'm getting at people disguise things. You know, the way that communities advance, particularly communities of color, is we advance based upon opportunity. One of those opportunities finds itself in education. And so if you're interpreting, as you can interpret that Voting Rights Act decision, proving intentional discrimination, everything has to be established through intentional. We can't use race as any factor. Race is not to be considered. So now what you do is you cut out opportunities in education, and therefore you don't allow people of color to get into institutions of higher learning where they could go and advance, and we can all be better in society. You don't allow people of color into major corporations, which have an influence on economic empowerment and what people are allowed to do in terms of funding their families and communities. You don't allow people of color to be involved in terms of government contracts and the issuance of government contracts, minority contracts. Again, you're impairing people of power. You don't allow people of color to have small business opportunities and other things to empower themselves. And so I think that it has a cascading effect. When you talk about colorblind, does colorblind now turn into the fact that, you know, we don't have to worry about being challenged because of our prejudices. If I'm a corporate person, if I'm an educational institution, if I'm someone else if I'm a government official who's doling out contracts, I don't have to worry about being attacked because I'm not incorporating people and diversifying my network. And as a result, we could keep those people out. So I think that when you look at that, it becomes troubling. And then going back to the Voting Rights Act itself, when you analyze the effect of that in having our leaders craft districts that exclude people of color, it's for political advantage. It was not done for intentional discrimination at all. Now you're talking about not only disempowering our community economically, but you're talking about in terms of decision making, in terms of laws, in terms of all the things that society does that you would think would be inclusive to allow for the growth and development of all. You can have a very exclusionary society. So I'm very concerned with your premise, and it's very true, that it may have been about voting rights, but it bleeds into so many other facets of our community that serve the purpose of depressing, suppressing, and otherwise avoiding opportunities for members of our community to grow and advance. And so,
Counselor, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Joey Jackson is our very special guest, and the politics of our faith with the Reverend Dr. S. Todd Urey. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Congressman Christian Menifee has won the Democratic primary runoff in Texas' 18th district, defeating longtime Congressman Al Green, who is also black.
Congressman Green's legacy will outlive any election, and I'm committed to making sure that his legacy remains strong.
Menifee blamed redistricting for the matchup. He'll face Republican Ronald Dwayne Whitfield in November. Alabama officials are asking the Supreme Court to let them use a Republican-leaning congressional map for the midterms. A federal court blocked the map, ruling the state intentionally discriminated against black voters. Alabama wants a decision by Monday. And the police union in Louisville, Kentucky has sent Mayor Craig Greenberg a cease and desist letter trying to stop the city's Office of Inspector General from investigating officers. The office, along with a civilian review board, was created after Breonna Taylor, a black woman, was killed during a police raid in 2020. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Head to Waba Grill for $5 happy hour weekdays after 3 p.m. and try our new Chili Crisp dumplings paired with a premium beverage drink like our new Strawberry Watermelon Lemonade Energy Refresher. Both for just $5 only at Waba Grill.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A contract extension for Chargers defensive back Derwin James has made him the highest paid safety in NFL history. The four-time Pro Bowler agreed to an extension Tuesday night that will pay him $75.6 million over the next 3 years. $57.5 million of the deal is guaranteed. James is getting ready for his 8th season with the Chargers. The Oklahoma City Thunder are one win away from facing the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals. OKC beat San Antonio Tuesday night, 127-114 to take a 3-2 lead in the Western Conference Finals. Game 6 is Thursday night in San Antonio. Boston's Joe Mazzulla was voted NBA Coach of the Year. Mazzulla led the Celtics to a 56-26 record in the regular season and the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs. If I had a vote, it would have gone to Detroit's J.B. Bickerstaff. The Pistons were 60-22. They were the number 1 seed in the East. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Let's be real. For too long, too many of our students have sat in overcrowded classrooms in underfunded public schools.
But as head of the San Diego School Board, Richard Barrera changed that.
Under Barrera's leadership, student literacy rose from the state average all the way to number 1 among major urban school districts. Barrera led the way for smaller classrooms and for teachers to be paid what they're worth.
Barrera funded more counselors and mental health services, and community schools that teach real-world skills for future jobs.
A community organizer who became an education leader to fight for our kids. The only candidate for state superintendent of public instruction.
Backed by the 310,000 classroom educators of the California Teachers Association. Vote Democrat Richard Barrera for state superintendent.
Ad paid for by California Teachers Association Independent Expenditure Committee, not authorized by a candidate or committee controlled by a candidate.
What if your rooftop could earn you money every year? With LADWP's Solar Rooftops program, you can get solar panels installed and maintained on your home at no cost and earn up to $900 a year. That's up to $18,000 over 20 years. There are no upfront costs, no credit checks, and no annual fees. Plus, you'll help power Los Angeles with clean local solar energy and reduce reliance on fossil fuels. Make your rooftop work for you. Apply today at ladwp.com/solar rooftops.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. The midterm election campaign season is here now. The 2028 presidential election is right around the corner. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country and advance civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. It's all in for 2026 and 2028. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
It's Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and the Politics of Our Faith with Dr. S. Todd Yeary. Dr. Yeary's social justice work includes having served on the national board of the National Action Network from 2015 to 2021. That's the organization founded by the Reverend Al Sharpton. He's the past political action chair for the Maryland State Conference of the NAACP and is co-founding principal of Community Churches for Community Development, Inc., and is founding principal of SALT, Strategic Advocacy and Legislative Think Tank, a faith-based public policy collaborative. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and to your show, The Politics of Our Faith.
If I could just get the technology to act right, I'd be in great shape. That's all I know. But always good to be with you.
We have a very special guest in this hour, none other than attorney Joey Jackson, nationally recognized attorney who has for more than 2 decades represented individuals, labor unions, state and federal court. Mr. Jackson and his associates have represented a diverse group of clients under the glare of cameras, as well as those who have never attracted public attention. We are grateful for his ministry and for his work. Joey, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Good to be here. We're missing the fine doctor, huh? Fine doctor.
we finally caught him, Joey. Hey, Todd, Joey raised a really interesting point that really scared the hell out of me. And that is that there's no narrow Supreme Court decision, which was, Dad's fundamental premise when you were, of course, advising him. And Joey just laid out a scenario where once we move beyond voting and look at the application of the judgment, not of the facts of the voting case, but the principle that the court itself is trying to advance here, that there's almost no moment in American life where we cannot give consideration to a race-conscious remedy to a race-conscious problem. Yeah, help me, Dr. Yeary. Help us, please.
You're gonna let the Joey Jackson set the table, and you want me to add some commentary. I'm gonna say ditto what he said. I don't know everything that he said, but I think that's probably the right thing to do. Listen, I think Joey's
the mute button is. Try hitting the mute button.
Yeah. Joey lays this point out, and I think we have to take it seriously, that the remedy for, let's just call it largely reparations, or more formally restitution for the harms that have been done, is to really just kind of erase this race-based prioritization of certain interests that has benefited certain communities for several generations. Now that it's an issue, let's just say we're not going to do it anymore. And so you can't fix a race-based harm with a race-based solution. That's kind of the dissonant thinking that's coming from the majority of the court. But that's not how the principles of restitution even work. If we think about what is the intentional harm that was imposed, I've mentioned this policy before. I still think it has a lot of potential. We got to figure it out. There was the Homestead Act, but then there was a Southern Homestead Act that was more directed at formerly enslaved Black people. Well, they got rid of the Southern Homestead Act and left the first Homestead Act that was put forth in 1862 before the Emancipation Proclamation. It was then allowed to create literally generations of wealth for particular communities with the government's aid. And it used race as the distinction. So, they say, well, if you're free, well, we know what free meant. We know what free didn't mean too, right? We saw that in the Dred Scott decision. So we've got to go back and we've got to challenge this. And I think Joey's right. This is the time that we cannot disengage from the voting process because it's more frustrating. It may be more cumbersome. It may be even more difficult. Now's not the time to get, as Reverend would say, disgusted. Now's the time to get determined. Because if we don't, somebody else is going to put someone else, some other candidate on the court to continue to perpetuate these rules of law that then reach into other areas. It starts with this notion of DEI or affirmative action or voting. And then it's going to go all the way down into every facet of our lives. Housing, where you can live, school districts, how they're funded. When we start looking at the Great Society Plan legislation that was really built upon the Civil Rights Act of 1866 that then ended up being codified in the 14th Amendment, that's really what they're coming after. They have never liked the notion that the Civil Rights Act of 1866 said Black people had the same rights that white people do. They've been offended ever since, and that offensive attitude remains to this day.
We have about 3 minutes before we come forward. I do want to raise a complicated question. So what you're saying is that when we move beyond the drawing of districts and the gerrymander, which can no longer be racially intended, if you will, everything ... that Joey said and what Todd has been saying, but it seems to me that on the question, for example, of gender, this idea only applies to Black women, but white women who don't have a racial remedy still have a female remedy to their non-participation in diversity, equity, and inclusion and other aspects of American public and private life, because Robinson or the Louisiana decision, Joey, doesn't apply to them on the basis of race, and it doesn't reach into gender. And therefore, it only applies to Black women. Joey? I may have lost Joey on that one.
Joey hit the mute button. Here, as you're mentioning that,
I mean, if race-based, if beyond the interpretation of just lines and the gerrymander, that the court is now going to impose its race solution on the entire nation, which is color blindedness, then women who have experienced gender discrimination, it only says to Black women, you can't participate on the basis of your race, but possibly participate on the basis of the fact that you're female. But it leaves white women entirely out of the scope of any form of discrimination or remedy for discrimination on the basis of race-based affirmative action. That is, white women have a justification and a basis for their progress that are not affected by Louisiana versus Kelly at all. They still get to be diverse. They still get affirmative action. They still get to be included because nothing about this decision goes after gender.
I think this is where Professor Cheryl Harris's 1993 Harvard Law Review article called Whiteness as Property is particularly poignant. Whiteness isn't just about privilege. It is actually a property interest. It is a claim to an entitlement that affords distinctions from everything like access to different laws. Remember when we first heard this notion of reverse discrimination? Well, reverse discrimination is a specialized legal interpretation that only applies to white people. Reverse discrimination doesn't affect any other group. And so we have special analyses, we have special protections, because at the end of the day, the notion of whiteness as not just a construct, but actually a legal property right. You and I, we saw even in Plessy versus Ferguson, when Homer Plessy, who is 7/8 white, 1/8 black, says to the conductor, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm a black guy." You couldn't tell, but just by making the claim shifted his apparent entitlement to his real entitlement.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our final segment will on our Politics of Our Faith with Dr. S. Todd Urey and Joy Jackson, and we'll be back momentarily.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
My name is Cynthia Mitchell. I've been an emergency room nurse in Los Angeles County for 25 years. I've been there through every fire season, every outbreak, every earthquake. Every time Los Angeles needed us, the doctors and nurses of Los Angeles County showed up. And right now, I'm seeing another disaster coming. Trump's cuts to Los Angeles County's healthcare system are a public health crisis in the making. Medi-Cal, public hospitals, disaster preparedness are all at risk, but we can stop it. Measure ER fights back against these cuts. For a half a penny, we keep emergency rooms open, care within reach for working families, and doctors and nurses serving the communities we love. When you vote yes on Measure ER, you're not just voting for healthcare, you're voting for LA. Vote yes on Measure ER by June 2nd.
Ad paid for by Yes on ER, Restore Healthcare for Angelinos, sponsored by St. John's Community Health and Health Justice Action Fund. Ad committee top funder, St. John's Community Health.
Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
Are you still pouring gallons and gallons of water into a thirsty lawn that never seems to get enough water? LADWP has a special offer for a free water-saving front yard refresh available to eligible LADWP residential customers. LADWP handles all the work, including lawn removal, installing an efficient irrigation system, and planting beautiful California-friendly plants. Save water and lower your bill with a free front yard refresh. See if you qualify at LADWP.com/LEAP. That's LADWP.com/LEAP.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. A-rated by the Better Business Bureau, their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $3 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is dedicated to inspiring youth and resilience through storytelling, arts, filmmaking, and enrichment programs for youth and families in under-resourced communities and system-impacted individuals. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit providing free and low-cost arts programs to youth and families from under-resourced communities, both system-impacted youth and those affected by the incarceration of a loved one. 1 in 43 children in America have a parent incarcerated. 70% of those children are expected to end up in prison. Through filmmaking, animation, theater, and writing, they help young people express themselves, build confidence, and imagine new possibilities. Beyond the arts, they offer financial literacy workshops, emergency support, and scholarships. Because thriving takes more than talent, it takes access. To learn more about the impact of Michael Daughters Foundation and how you can be a part of the movement, please visit their website, michaelsdaughterfoundation.com. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Success is picking up extra shifts for your family. Now you want to be the boss. Success is getting your foot in the door. Now you want to take the next step. Success looks different to everyone, and University of Maryland Global Campus can help you reach your goals. And there's never been a better time to get started on your future. No application fee if you apply by June 1st. As an accredited state university, UMGC has been transforming lives for over 75 years. With more than 135 undergraduate and graduate degrees and certificates, online and hybrid courses, personalized support, financial resources, and lifetime career services. Achieving your dreams is more possible than ever before. Choose the program that's right for your career goals and get started on your next success. No application fee if you apply by June 1st. Learn more at umgc.edu. That's umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chef.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is our final segment. And as usual, I try to leave the last 2.5 minutes for our very special guest. In this case, Attorney Joey Jackson is our very special guest here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And I'm so grateful for his leadership. I'm really, really careful with Joey, Todd. And one of the reasons I am, not because he can't handle anything that's put in front of him, but I fully expect Joey to be in front of the U.S. Senate one day being confirmed for something, Vice President of the United States or Attorney General. And I want nothing that I say or do to Joey on the record to ever be part of that discourse between Joey's future and the promise that he represents and the hope that he has for all of us. Joey, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Absolutely. Wonderful to be here with you and the fine doctor with the technical difficulties, but he got it in.
Hey, let me throw a curveball at you. I'm leaving the last 2.5 minutes for Joey and Dr. Uri. Please feel free to jump in here with this as well. The breaking news today is that Donald Trump is allowing 10,000 South Afrikaners into the United States and no other white South Africans. Let me be specific, not black South Africans, not black Nigerians. He is expanding essentially the quota to include 10,000 aggrieved South Africans who he says have complained about racial oppression in Africa. At the same time, we're having a debate in the United States about our participation in the Congress of the United States and expressing our grievances for being able to participate in our own government. I say that to say there seems to be exceptions here, Joey, to Louisiana versus Calais, where we can't have race-based remedies to address our grievances. But the president is applying race-based grievances in international policy to welcome Greenlanders, South Afrikaners, and anybody else who ain't black, brown, Hispanic to the United States. Joey, I'm deeply troubled by that.
Well, I think you should be. And, quite frankly, if we look at it, I guess I can answer that by giving you a question. how many people from Haiti have been permitted to come to the United States? Do we have any idea as to that? I think it's easy, 0. How many people from Grenada have been permitted to come to the United States, meaning get under these exempt circumstances that you've laid out as it relates to South Africans, who are non-Black? And so I think that there's an antagonistic nature of this administration, to put it lightly, of all things Black and brown. I would gladly defend that in front of the U.S. Senate or any place else that I might appear. I don't expect to be there, but I would just tell you that, the facts are the facts, and there comes a point in time that we have to look at the realities before us. And when you start looking and examining how books are being removed, that relate to African Americans from institutions of our military, when you start to look at the attack again on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, when you look at the attack on who universities can admit and who they can't, and who they can hire and who they can't, who law firms should represent and who they should not, I think it's becoming blatantly and obvious about what Make America Great Again really means in terms of the hue of this country. And until we acknowledge and accept that and do something about it, we're going to be in a very dark place, which we are. But I have a lot of hope, and I will end on hope, and I will end on the optimism of your great late dad, who wanted always to keep hope alive. So I'm hopeful for a better tomorrow. I'm hopeful that the U.S. Senate will wake up and start pushing back against the president, that the Congress will wake up and start pushing back against the president, and that we can call it for what we see. And that is that African Americans are under attack in this country. And I think the lack of righteousness does not last forever. And so I see a new day of reckoning and a new dawn arising. And I think that dawn includes people who look like us really ascending and continuing to do great things, and the tide being changed, and changed soon.
Joey, we're so grateful for your service. Thanks for being on our show today.
Amen to that. Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. You are brilliant.
Please give my very best on behalf of my mother to your wife as well, and to
Absolutely.
your family. We love you very much, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Joey. Appreciate you. Dr. Yuri will be joining us in just a second. I think he might have a slight technical difficulty, but I do want to say this about the South Africans. It's just almost unconscionable for me to imagine that the President of the United States is welcoming 10,000 aggrieved white South Africans to the United States. That's the breaking news in this hour on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show at KBLA Talk 1580. And I also want to say that soon they will have the right to vote. Soon, if in fact Donald Trump has promised ICE members, as Dr. Leon has suggested, to be covering polling places in the upcoming election, they will be walking past ICE members with no suspicion that they are Americans. And only when they open their mouths do we know they're not Americans, because they have an accent. They have rights and privileges that simply because of the color of our skin, they do not have. We do not have. Dr. Yuri, I was just saying in this final 2 minutes of the program, which I will leave to you, 10,000 white South Africans are coming to the United States, and at some point in time, they will have the right to vote. I was staying in a hotel in Raleigh, North Carolina, not long ago, and sitting at the bar was a South African. He said he was just welcomed into the United States. They gave him land in Tennessee. He doesn't pay property taxes, and he doesn't pay income taxes, but he lives in a very, very rural part of Tennessee. I think he didn't know who he was sitting with, and I don't think he was supposed to share with me that they don't pay taxes when they come here as South African refugees. Dr. Yuri?
Well, let's remember, they were given land. Our biggest grievance has been they never settled with us on the land, because the wealth of a nation is tied to land and labor. They took the labor, they kept the land, and now they're inviting others on the basis of some specious notion that somehow or other they who were once the oppressor are now the oppressed is problematic. And so until we hold the government accountable to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God, we're going to continue to have to keep the pressure on to make sure that they do right by us.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I hope to have Joey Jackson and S. Todd Urey back again by next week. Our producer is going to work on it. Gina, so grateful for that. Until then, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Been listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580 until Thought Provoking Thursdays. I'll see you then.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm